This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
This week on the SRC podcast, we cover the Cup and Plate final, whilst there's also a few league games to cover, and listen in to find out how you lose a game after 40 minutes. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the SRC podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, the one and only Double R, Mr. Rob Rees. Good evening, my friend. How are we?
Yeah, all good, mate. I'm lethargic tonight. I had a Chinese, as you're aware, and I've eaten too much Chinese. And yes, there is a thing as too much Chinese.
Yeah. So if you're audio listener, you won't get to see this, but on the YouTube, on the video, you can see sort of the top quarter of Rob, but that's only the top 10th of him at the minute, because that's how much Chinese he just scoffed down his damn glutton. Pure gluttony, I was, mate. So, I mean, this is meant to be happy news, but it's also, happy news in another way. The Cup is finally over. Hey, we can get back to some proper league action now.
And the plate, Martin. Stop devaluing the plate.
Plate
is also over.
I would never devalue the plate. The plate is not over. How do you think you had your Chinese? Come on, mate. Plate will go on forever.
Swans.
And you're drinking out of the bottle. You're not using the cup. Fuck that shit. All right, so let's start with the big one. Cup final. It was 5:30 kickoff at Cap. We've had a rant on the shit with this Cup this season last week. So let's try and be a bit positive.
Yeah.
Portland Every. Brilliant game. Really down to the wire stuff. Obviously, unless we managed to get in the ground, you had to follow it online through socials. So if anyone's listening from SPED Rec or WRU, sort yourselves out. Get this on TV at least next year, because we had it last year, and let's have it on TV on a weekend so the boys can actually celebrate as well. So
they moved it to a weekend, hey, and then removed the TV coverage. Boo!
I know you could give with one, you take with you know what they like. So but highlights are actually up, so they could have streamed it if they wanted, but they didn't. Extended highlights for the first time this season. Now, by extended highlights, all they mean was they actually played the run-up to the tries as well. Not extra parts of the game. Instead of the little 10 seconds, 20 seconds around the try, they spread it out to a full minute. So you can actually see some build-up, which was nice. But, if you want to go for extended highlights, we want to see some proper action. I want to see some phase play and someone get proper munched. Let's see a few penalties. Let's see what happens. But no, overall, great advert for the game. Literally, we've spoken a lot over the last year and a half now that, the two most well-rounded teams are Newport Llandudno, and that really came out to show. It seemed as though Llandudno's experience was going to pip them at the end. What was it, 25-21 coming into the dying stages. And Newport just nabbed it. Really, really close to the end. And, okay, it wasn't the last kick of the game, but what was it? Kick-off, one phase, and then boot out.
Oh, yeah, Oba.
So, don't get me wrong, that kick-off was really intense. If you watch the highlights go onto it, Llandudno compete really, really hard. And it's a Newport man. behind the Llandudno player that collects the ball. So they won that tap back. They could have really gone in with a chance of at least getting a draw here and pushing it to extra time, but it didn't happen. Newport got the victory. Young boys, you can't say a cup final win isn't deserved, regardless of how you may have ended up in the final. You've got there, you're in the big moment, emotions are high, you've got to get through it all, and they've done it. So technically, they're reigning double champs at the minute. Then,
Yeah, it was. It is one of those games, and I'm glad it ran close either way, because I think the cup needed that just to sort of show that the two best teams are going through. Because I think the whole idea on the pool stages, you're never quite sure sometimes who's running form and who's not. I think there was a lot of going to be a question over Newport because that they had to play their semi-final a day later and it went to extra time. So again, that physicality, the energy in the boys, then the mental side of the cup final and all of that sort of comes through. And as you said, they're still pushing hard towards the end. They knew they needed that try. You get the line out, 5 meters out, always a threat. Doesn't matter who you are these days. As long as you can win your line out ball, the maul is always a threat. And I'll be honest, as soon as they brought it down, it never looked like it was going to be held out. It started trundling towards the line. In come a few supporting players, and it eased over. If we're honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's always interesting when you score that late because, as you say, it wasn't the last kick of the game. It's just I either like it that the conversion means everything, where the conversion is to either win it or that's it, or you want a bit more time because, as you say, you kick off, it all comes down. It's effectively like an onside kick in American football, where you have to kick it and you quite literally have to turn this around. And if you don't get that ball, that's the game because you've used up that extra minute with the kick. You've used up that time restart in the one phase, and out he goes. So yeah, they said Newport technically at the moment are the reigning doubles.
Yeah, so I mean, even though they had that tiresome semi-final the day after, there was only 3 changes, in their 15. One was injury enforced, Finn Baker being ruled out. Bradbury coming in for, I need to work this one out then. Josh Reed, I believe. Obviously, Skinner moved into lock. And, Taylor up off the bench. So, there was literally, 20 of these boys, played in that semi-final last week. So, if tiredness was an issue, it did not show whatsoever. But then on the Llandudno side, not so much in the starting 15 because it was only the one change, one man up off the bench. They had a brand new front row on the bench, and it was all Scarlet's Academy players. So obviously there's quality there, but you trade in for experience. So
Yeah,
maybe they got that wrong. Who's really to say? Because we don't have the full match to watch back. We've only got match reports, which obviously will be written with a slight bias both ways. So we're not really sure where this was ultimately won.
yeah. I think the thing, and I know a few Llandovery supporters are mentioning this to me whenever I've been speaking about throughout this season, is they play more fluid and a better rugby without the Scarlets boys in and out because you're having that consistency. And again, it's bringing in front rowers is a massive area anyway. And then you're bringing in young lads. A lot of these guys don't have experience in big finals just because they haven't had time to get to them. So yeah, I think that's an interesting one. And I'll be honest, Llandovery now again? It sort of feels for them like a bit of a glass half empty right now because you've lost your cup final. That was your first chance at silverware. The league now is Cardiff go above them, and Newport are probably the form team. So therefore, all of a sudden, Llandovery is sort of like, hang on, we got to hold on to 4 spots at all costs, and you're sliding away from a home semi-final. Is, without saying that your season completely unravels in a final, but it's sort of, I seen it last season with Ebbw Vale. You lose that cup final, wind out your sails, absolutely gutting, and then the focus is back on the league, where even without playing, they're already on a slide because of other teams' results.
Yeah. I mean, if we do take a quick look at the league for a moment, with Llandovery, they've got Bridgend away, Cardiff at home, Pontypool away, Aberavon at home. So, that Cardiff game at Churchbank becomes, ultra, ultra important. Possibly, the decider for, that second place spot ultimately, because there's 5 points, but Cardiff are ahead by 5 points, courtesy of the extra bonus points they've received, and it's hard to see. I can see Llandovery winning one away game in a playoff format. I can't see him doing two. No. Not this version of Llandovery. 2 years ago, even 1 year ago possibly, but not right now. So that is that for the Cup. There was another half to the Cup competition this year, and that was the Plate. And we had the red hot North Walians Rugby Gogledd Cymru RGC come into Cap to play Wales. Well, it's not really the second city at the minute, are they? Just some random town in the middle of Swansea.
Ooh, Martin. Martin.
They played Dunvant, essentially.
I'm
only
Martin, just
joking,
because
boys.
you're a Scarlets fan, it's all coming out on the SRC podcast.
Oh, always.
What was
always coming out.
Martin, you can't call him a tin pot. Oh, Martin. Tin Pot City, you just said, Martin. I just see you.
Nah, but no fairness, this, again, another, close fought game. 15-10 at halftime to Swansea. That travel is always an issue for RGC wherever they go. And, it is quite a hectic schedule, the Cup, because you're not really sure, considering the format, how it's going to pan out, the teams around you, what you need to do on certain days, etc. Like, there's massive jeopardy to it, but, it needs to be, it needs to come through right. And honestly, I think that performance against Quins and Bridgend, the last round of the group stage and the semi-final, just absolutely wiped it out for them. They've scored, let me have a look by here. They've scored 97 points between those two games. And it just seems that was it. Their tank sort of ran dry, and Swansea, in all fairness, they peaked at the right time. That's really all you can say. 4 wins on the bounce now to actually, get into this position. They lost their opener against Llandovery, which, it was a Churchbank, it was to expected. But they've gone on then. They've beaten Aberavon away. They've given Bridgend a fair bit of a hiding in a high-scoring game. They've done Quins then at Gowerton. So, basically a semi-neutral ground. And then go to Cap and just pull another great performance out of the bag. And it's absolutely brilliant for them. I managed to catch up with Joe Thomas, their current number 12 and head coach. And it's just banging on the same things. It was a cracking day. It's great to see a club lift silverware after such a long time. I think it was 2001 the last time. It was a final against a tough team who've been on real form lately, as we just discussed. And he's just happy for everyone in the club. Hopefully it's going to help them keep growing. The finals don't come around very often. And, for some of their boys, it was the biggest game of their careers. So, bang on. He's just, obviously he's happy. It's his first time, being in this position. Obviously, head coach. Really forced into the position a few months ago. And bang, he's got a championship, whatever way you look at it, to his name. So, But one player we do have to look at in all this is Matt Prothero, who has literally come back to the Swansea area, shall we say, and he's banged in a hat-trick in the semi-final, a double in the final. You know, he's top try scorer with those 5. Cheeky bugger only scoring in finals. And it's ultimately the difference maker, you know, in this game. Obviously, I know you can say, oh, we take 2 tries away, we take 1 play away, someone else going blah, blah. But he is a difference maker. And, you know, for me, he's probably a bit too good for this league.
Yeah.
And, you know, the longer they can keep hold of him, the better. But it's a massive difference having someone like that in your squad.
Yeah, that's the sort of player that you often look to want to drop down. You know, I was in like he's your fringe player who's getting a bit of game time from the Osprey sort of thing. But to have him at your disposal full time is absolutely invaluable, really. And it's those players in the big moments you have to look upon to create that big moment in the game, to create the score out of nowhere, or to keep you on the right path. I did look at this and I think I said RGC were going to win this actually, just with the form. But I was interested in Swansea's side to see who drops down, and there wasn't too many dropping in. Harry Houston was back, but yeah, I don't really know what RGC have got to do. Like their only top tier win now remains as the cup they won. You know, well, that's got to be the best part of 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think it is 10 now. 2016, maybe.
So it's like, well, yeah, I don't really know where they got to go from here. The pitch is in their favour. They're playing, you know, a side that's probably going to front them up and beat them at the breakdown. And I just feel that that's probably where RGC needs somebody, is that tight 5, and then the back 5 in the pack. Well, you know, basically all the pack. You know, but there's those combos is what I'm trying to say, because last year they had a solid front row, they had some really good, you know, back row forwards. Lose a few people move around, and then how things work absolutely just changes. And I'm a bit disappointed, to be honest, that they haven't really shown that their usual stamp of rugby. They haven't been able to play their game. Swansea have taken it. So yeah, it's, as you say, it's a big win for Swansea, because it's 24 years since their last trophy of any kind. And I'll be honest, that's got to be is it the longest drought in out of any of the SRC clubs? When did Quinn's last win something? 'Cause that's the side I'm looking at. Everyone else would have won something.
Oh, I don't think in my lifetime. But unless we're talking, you know, some, you know, secondary competitions.
No one cares about secondary competition.
Yeah.
Fucking
I'd have to go back. I have to speak with bloody Percy, a bloody club historian, because I'm really not sure. I don't believe we've ever won the cup. So
no, you haven't won fuck all. But looking at this,
no.
you won Div 1 West in 2008-9.
Hey,
Hey.
that's you know that's a building. That's building.
Which back then, oh no, I think the championship would have just come around by then.
I can't even think.
Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing where, if you just look back 2 decades, where some of these SRC clubs were, because, you know, Ebb Vale weren't in that top flight, Carmarthen weren't in that top flight.
No, RGC didn't exist.
Didn't exist at all.
So yeah, that was the second longest streak, Martin.
Second longest.
Yeah. Well, you think about it. Well, actually, Aberafon, when did they last win something? Because they've never won the cup.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, hang on. This is
He's
what
digging.
this
All
is
right.
what it's all about. Because everybody else has won something. Cardiff have won both. Newport have won both. Ebervale have won the league. Bridgend have won the cup. Llandovery have won both. Pontypool, I guess you could argue that theirs isn't top flight. But they have won the championship and the championship cup. Here we go. Club honours. Div 1 champions. No, so Welsh National League Division 1 champions.
You're going back now.
2001, 2002.
So it's Aberavon. So it was Aberavon and Swansea,
Yeah.
and until Swansea won this plate. So
Other than Quins, we'll forget Quins because they're 150. Theirs is 151 years at the moment. They fucking win streak or loser streak. 151 years, Martin. Fucking hell. Newport have only just turned 151. Come on.
La-di-da. Okay, so that is the plate and cup wrapped up. 29-13, the final score was in favour of Swansea. Case, it hasn't been mentioned. So that is the cup season done and dusted. And we still have rounds of the Six Nations to get through, which wasn't the case last year. But oh well. We are now fully fledged and back into league action. And there were 2 games in this round. Well, I'll say on this weekend, because obviously gap weekend being the cup finals. So Aberavon at home to Cardiff. And we have said that Aberavon has shown a bit of fight recently. They have come through. Obviously, they haven't picked that win up, but they're becoming a lot more competitive. And that is something what we saw in this game. Aberavon at home to Cardiff. Cardiff got a nice 21-10 lead at the half. They never looked like, conceding, the win in this game. But Aberavon, fair dues to them, they kept fighting, and they came back and they got that bonus point. So, 24-28 they finished. And usual suspects on the scoreboard for them, Felix Gilbert, Keelan Cullen, Frankie Jones, just tries galore. Between there's a few names at Aberavon that you just expect to pop up whenever a try is scored. Cardiff, Joe Goodchild getting back on the score sheet, Craig Hudd, and the man from the hooker factory that is well renowned in Cardiff. He scored a double on his was it his debut in the cup?
Yeah, it was.
This is his league debut, and he scored a double then. So Nichols Ngasu. So Tom Howe, I mean, you want to watch over your shoulder, mate. You got someone who's doing some damage by you as well. But something that piqued my interest was Matty Young taking a conversion. Now, I didn't get to see all the substitutes. So any ideas what happened there? There's young Harry Wilde, right? So obviously Lloyd Lucas is with the 20s. He's there at the 10.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is probably something, though, where Cardiff are very up and down and very different. Because they have a heavy allocation from the academy, at this time of year they lose players to the under-20s. They get players like Corey Domachowski dropping down, but like in the next minute he'll be playing the rest of the season, as long as he stays fit with Cardiff Rugby. And like I say, you can turn up and it'll be a side of relative nobodies, or it could be a side stacked with several internationals, in an area designed to combat whoever the opposition is that week. And I think Aberavon have shown some good resolve here. This is not a poor Cardiff side. This is a strong one that's turned out. They've had a couple of weeks laid off now as well, Aberavon. Obviously, they were out. Their bye week was round 5. So they've had basically 3 weeks of no games, where everyone else has had no more than 2. So, yeah, it's interesting to sort of see how they responded to it. And unfortunately for them, even though they've put in a good performance, gathered some points, they actually went down in the table. But yeah, I think there's a lot of promise with this Wizards team. As you say, there's some ever reliable players getting on the score sheet, and that's what you need. You need those players you can rely on. Cullen I think Cullen needs a good run of games. I think he's getting used to this level, but it's one of those ones you need to be playing 6-7 games in a row to really find your form, find where you're at. But Cardiff are an interesting one now. Like I said, they're 56 points, so what's that? 15 points now off the top. If they close that gap, take up the game in hand. I think it's going to be interesting to see now between them, Llandovery and Newport for that second place.
Yeah.
Assuming Ebervale hold on to the giant gap at the top.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that gap that we referred to, 14th of February to 7th of March. You lose absolutely everything in that time. We've seen Cullen put in some awesome performances this season. He's more or less single-handedly kept Aberafon in games, this year, and that's not even a stretch to say.
No.
That's when he came in, I believe. Oh, what was his name? The Aberafon coach, Nick White. He played a part in getting him in, and obviously he was on trial with the Ospreys as well. So there is definitely quality there, but I think probably the whole team overall, this gap haven't helped them. If they played last week or even the week before, they might have just had enough in them to keep this game, keep Cardiff out really totally in that second half and really push them on. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Obviously, RGC in a fortnight's time for them, so a nice travel up north. It's gonna be interesting. On to the other game, Bridgend against Pontypool, and we both get to eat our words because last week we were both on the thing outside of the finalists. We were thinking Pontypool are looking good. They're on the up. They've turned a corner, and for 40 minutes they did. They really did. Marcus Jones, Morgan Allen, Sam Scarf, 3 tries in the first half, 27, leading at the Brewery Field against Bridgend, and then the second half kicked off, and I don't know if it was something that happened to Pooler or if Bridgend finally realised, oh, this is actually a game of rugby. We're meant to score the tries. And from there, the floodgates just absolutely opened wide. And that second half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tries in the second half for Bridgend. Only the one in the first half, of course. But I can't explain that. Nor with the Pontypool we've seen over the last few weeks. Actually probably month and a half, really. It's just 43-7 in that second half. That's just wow.
Yeah, so I've seen a little bit of this, and this is such a bizarre one, and all I can attribute it to is Pontypool mentally shooting themselves in the foot, then getting up and shooting themselves in the other fucking foot, because they've gone out that first half. It's all about set piece, going through your phases, taking your time. Being patient, all about your build-up, kicking for, corner, using your territorial game, right? You're looking really good here. You're looking on for a 6-pointer as you build in and going like that. You come out the second half, and it's like if they've just switched off and gone, we got this, boys. It's only Bridgend. This will be fine now. And started lobbing the ball about. And it's turned into barbarians, schoolyard rugby. And Bridgend have just absolutely lapped that up. Now, yes, 9 times out of 10, you probably do see a side like Bridgend come out and still get beaten. But on this occasion, they've got boys like Ben Burnell has had one of his best games, if not his best game of the season. Ryan Wilkins has come on and returned to the squad, and he's had an absolute belter. They've just thrown everything at them, and that momentum has switched so much, and the scores came so quickly that all of a sudden Pontypool are sort of backtracking, can't really do a lot about it. The momentum's gone, and as we all know, once that momentum's gone, it's gone. If it swings back and forth a little bit and you're fighting for momentum, you've got a chance. But once it goes, it's gone. And I think the biggest blow for Pooler in all of this is it looks like Morgan Lloyd's going to be out for a couple of weeks. So it's not quite the one-man show. I mean, obviously, the likes of Dylan KG, Sam Scarf have solidified that pack. Morgan Allen, Scotty Matthews have been superb on this little run. But losing someone who's a linchpin of that sort of squad, he's just going to hurt them. And it drops Pontypool down to the bottom of the table, which is so surprising. You look at this squad, and I'm looking at the table, and I'm going, well, they should be 5th. Maybe 6th, you could argue 6th. But they should be. They've got all the help in the world from the Dragons. 6, 7, 8 players every single week. People like Hugh Anderson, Morgan Lloyd, Sam Scarf, Dylan KG are fringe professionals, first team players. You've then got your veterans are quality players. Like I said, Morgan Allen, your Scotty Matthews, Mikey Herbert, people like that. And they're 5 points adrift, albeit with a game in hand against Swansea, but it's 5 points adrift at the bottom of the table, and it's culture is what we said we thought Chief had to change there. And that's what he would add. He would basically add this no-die attitude. But for the first time since he's come in, what was it? The 20th of December was his first game. So he was in that week. This is the first fallible performance, really, where they've broken down, lost that mental fortitude of, do you know what, we're Pontypool, we're going to make this difficult. They didn't win this game. Bridgend have come out and played some absolutely fantastic rugby, made their substitutes at the right time, so credit to Scott Baldwin and his team. They've taken a punt and absolutely punished everything that Pontypool did. And as a result, jump up a couple of places in the table.
Yeah, it's obviously great, massive congratulations to Scott Baldwin and his men. They really have come out and proved, especially just in this game alone, a lot of people are wrong. Because I don't think anyone would have backed them, especially after the way RGC put them to the sword the week before. I mean, we were so positive that Pontypool had turned a corner, and now I'm just scratching my head again, like what's going on. And you are right, Pontypool have been that top 5 team for a few seasons now. And it's like, well, what do they need to do to break into that top 4? Because that's been a running conversation for well over a year. And now it's what do they have to do to break into the top 8? So
this is just the question, right? So as a team, you want to kick on. You can see how Llandovery have kicked on to a very big extent. You can see how teams like Newport and Cardiff have kicked on in their dynasties. Merthyr did it when they came up. Ebervale have done it with less silverware. But like you look at Pontypool, they've come up and they've gone 5th and 5th finishes the last 2 seasons. You're going right. Now let's call it the big 4, coin a term out of football. The big 4, that's who you got to chase now. Yeah, they're probably a couple of wins away. That's where they were, a couple of wins away. Obviously, they had a points deduction a couple of years ago as well for not fulfilling a fixture. And then all of a sudden, it's like they're not recruiting right. The culture's not there. Is there a term of arrogance? I don't know. Did they come up after winning? And I said this a lot because people took it for granted while they were down there. That Ebervale were down for basically the 4 years, came up, runner-up, and then won the league. I think a lot of people looked at that from a Pontypool camp and went, yeah, we're going to do the same now. We're better than Ebervale. We've beaten all their records in the time that we were stuck in sort of the championship. Not a problem. They've come up, and let's be honest, it's not been quite a fail, but considering the money they were putting in before the salary cap and the Dragons' help that they do get now under the cap, it's just really poor. We mentioned it right at the start of the season. I didn't feel their recruitment was quite right.
I mean, that I'm actually looking at their ins and their outs by year, and Tom he brought in 17 players in the summer, and a fair few of them haven't featured at all. Obviously, Sam Jones has gone back up to RGC, but it seems as though obviously Tom Hancock he took over earlier than planned last season. Or whether or not it was planned at all. I think I said it was planned early on, but blah, blah, blah. And it seems as though, I don't know if this is meant to be the start of a rebuild or if this is just, trying to develop his own style in here. But it really much is a case of this is now Tom Hancock's side, and we really need to figure out what the ultimate goal is. Because, if it is a rebuild, then we can, okay, this year, maybe 6 months the next season, we can maybe ease off them a little bit. But, if it's not, and if it was just a case of bolstering the squad with youngsters to, try and fight that, give that competition, then, it seems that plan hasn't worked out. Like, they do get a decent allocation, and it's not just who turns up in the 23 on the weekend. These boys are in training as well. You know, they're the boys that train
Yeah.
that don't turn out. So no, this is something that people always, you know, I come across the conversation. Oh, what are you on about? They got 6 or 7 boys. You know, they only had 3 in the 2020 weekend. These boys do train with them quite regularly, and depending on which region you're with, you have to train with them every week, even if you're not going to be available. So, you know, I'm just looking over here. They've had a young tight end. He's a Scarlet's tight end from Pennebank, if I'm not wrong. Nathan Davis. He made his debut. Well, I think he made his debut off the bench. I haven't quite had a look at that match report. But again, you know, they've got another young number 3 in Owen Popple, who said like I think they signed 3 or 4 really young front rowers this season.
Yeah.
And well, more than really young. Obviously,
I'll be honest. I think their problem is probably 2 areas. Well, I guess it depends if you count Dragons. If you remove the Dragons allocation, 3 areas for me. I know that's like a massive area. Front row, before they had Scarf and Dylan come in, they were having hammerings. They were losing lineouts and scrums. They were on back football. They need to resolve that. They got hardly any experience and quality experience in that front row. Scrum half, you remove Morgan from that position, and they've been struggling for scrum half now for several seasons in terms of depth.
well, you can go Logan Franklin. He's another Dragons boy. He's the one who's coming there. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean.
What was it? Rodri Cole came in was in Neath late last season.
Yep,
and now he signed full time with them, and I think we've barely seen him.
Yeah, well, they had Matthew Flanagan left Ebervale a couple of years ago, went down and didn't really do a lot because he was supposed to have left for work and then ended up playing with Pontypool and then didn't play due to work.
Owain Leonard left last season as well.
See what I mean? So that's another gap. But this centre partnership last year was absolutely fantastic. It was looking so good. They've had some call-ups to the Dragons development game at the start of the season. And obviously the Dragons have turned them into shit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to put this all on the Dragons, but last season, Joel Mahoney, he fucking outstanding. Like, and this is no disrespect meant towards him, but him last season to him this season is like you've dropped 1 or 2 out of 10. It's just, it doesn't right, because the main partnership was, you know, Pat Lewis at 13, Joel Mahoney at 12, and you know we've seen that, you know, quite a fair few times this season. You know, obviously they've integrated. Well, it's been the partnership for the last one. Three games. They've brought Johan Evans in, who has played, you know, 13 and 12. I think with both of them. Yeah, he has played with both of them, and he's just some signings. You know, we'll see in a year or two that it'll work out and they'll come strong. And you know, it's the same when we talk about the allocation. Yes, they controlled by their region, but you know, the number of boys that actually make it out from the academy is embarrassing. I do need to come across and say that, because you know, you got 20 boys on full-time contracts, you've got, I don't know, however many then on like university one, on whatever other contracts you got, and you're thinking maybe a third of them will make it as a pro, and you know that's just not good enough. Like, there should be no reason we can't be put in. You know, obviously we don't have the money for it, but there's no way we don't have, you know, 300, you know, quality enough players to, you know, be a good, you know, 25 grand player. You know, there's nothing will tell me otherwise. You know, we've got the talent for that, and I think this league is showing, because obviously the whole point of it is development. And we do still need to remember that development. And we're seeing a lot of young boys in here. And what we're seeing, these young boys, they are very, very talented. They are just as good, sometimes even better than their counterparts of these teams. But they don't have that experience. And experience counts for so much. Like, literally, 5 years experience versus 1. You know, I don't get how good of an 18-year-old you are. And I can even talk to myself with the Scarlets. Obviously, we got young Carwyn Legger-Jones, who literally turned 18 like 4 or 5 months ago. You know, he's amazingly good. But you put even, you know, your average number 10 in there, like even if we go back a few years, Well, I don't mean to say he's average because he's really good. You stick Johan Hughes in that position, and he's not making the same mistakes. He doesn't have the talent, but he doesn't make those mistakes, and you play better throughout. So that is probably the biggest area in that front five, more specifically the front row that Pontypool are missing. And I've racked on a little bit too long for this now. So if you're still here, like, share, subscribe, do your worst, comment, hype, whatever you do on these days. We're just thankful you guys listen to us talk as much shit as we possibly can. Okay, so not a scheduled week for rugby in the SRC, but we do have one replayed game, which will bring everyone up to 14 games played ahead of the final 4 rounds and the playoffs. So we have play champion Swansea at home to Pontypool, and I have no idea where I'm swinging on this. You've got Pontypool who've just taken, the shittest 40 minutes of the season after looking good. And you've got Swansea, who will be on an absolute massive high, regardless if it's a play. They've just won a title. They're going to be over the moon. Those emotions are going to be through the roof. I have no idea which way this is going to swing.
Do you want to know what John Bucky Harris has said for this game?
What has John Sicky Harris said for this game?
You won't believe this. He's gone for another fucking draw.
Another draw.
He's gone for another draw.
Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised?
And he's got 2 of them right this season, so
who knows? I'll have to go back and count how many draws he has actually.
Yeah, I thought it was 2, but I might be wrong. It's got to the stage where he's predicted that many at this. He's the only one as well in 2 seasons of SRC podcast to predict a draw and correctly. Yeah. Man's on a roll.
He is in fairness to him. So we'll see how it goes. So Swansea Pontypool. What's the battle here? Because I obviously didn't touch on this earlier. Obviously, a stalwart for this season's Swansea that you specifically have spoken about quite a bit and how good he is over the ball. Luca Giannini was perfectly fit this weekend, but he was nowhere to be seen in Swansea's 23, nowhere to be seen in Cardiff, nowhere to be seen in Wales. He went out to bloody Ireland on the Friday night, didn't he, to watch a Wales game?
Good man.
Honestly, if it was me in that situation and my team had got to a final, I don't care what I was doing the night before. I would have been swimming in the Irish Sea just to get back in time for this game. Honestly, and the fact that they've won it now, that is a huge moment that he's missed. He's a young boy, so hopefully another opportunity will come around. But for it to come around for Swansea again, they waited 20 odd years for this.
Oh, it's going to be another 20 fucking years, wasn't it?
Yeah. So okay, into this game. I don't know which way it's going to swing. I think I've talked too negatively about Pontypool to back him now, but I do worry that emotional high of that win for Swansea is going to come. It's going to come crashing down somewhere. Swansea, they've only really got one of their own hookers. I do need, obviously, Logan Lloyd is an Ospreys boy. Obviously, Rodri King is their only fit hooker available at the minute. Joe Cox is out over in North America coaching with GB7s. So, that's why he was involved this past week as well. So you're going to need to pull me through this, mix. I'm really struggling.
Oh, I don't know. It's because, as you say, there's so many people missing from either side. I think one thing that does start swinging it back for me is I think that's the Pontypool result has shown that they're not there mentally at the moment. They haven't got the mentality of a top winning side. I think with Swansea with a few players back, Pooler's problem is you're not having anybody back. Everyone was there. If anything, you've lost Morgan Lloyd, and there's always going to be a question mark over the Dragons, boys. The closer we get out and out to the back end of the Six Nations and stuff like that, you're always going to be going, hang on, could lose a couple of players here. I just think Swansea just got something in them at the moment. So
I'm breathing a sigh of relief by here because I've written Swansea into my little predictor sheet. And I'm like, have I made the wrong decision by you? But no, knowing you've backed him, yeah, I'm along the similar train of thought. I do think that the Bridgend game for Pontypool has just shown there's that little bit too much frailty still in them, and traveling to a Boyd Swansea, who, let's be honest, these boys they've had a bit of stick online for celebrating the plate. I think the club are going to want to do something, and I think these boys are it's going to be enough mentally and emotionally to go, you know what, fuck the lot of you. We are going to celebrate as we want, and we're going to fucking put in another fucking cracking performance as well.
Yeah, let's get this fucking hammer Pontypool. Yeah. Get
them. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. We will be back next week with a full round of league fixtures, and Super Rugby Cymru returns to S4C on Thursday night. Hell of a gaming coming for you boys. But until then, and girls, of course, that we may have female listeners. I have no way to check, but I'm praying that it is at least.
I just presume that most of our listeners lived in their parents' basement. Oh no, wait, that's you, Martin. That's you. Sorry, Martin.
It's my housemate.
Where
would I fit all my kids in a basement?
Yeah.
My kids would be full.
Fucking Martin Fritzl.
Oh, that's harsh. Okay, I was going to say thank you for joining me, but now, fuck you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We do it all again next week. And until then, bye for now.
Super.